Let's go to the Newsmaker line. Alex Wilkes stands by. Alex is the executive director of AmericaRisingPAC.org, and we appreciate her coming on. Alex, hi. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much for having me.
So I read something from this poll from Morning Consult that just really grabbed my attention, because if you people don't know who America Rising PAC is, they are very big in holding Democrats accountable and exposing any hypocrisy, hidden hypocrisy, which, by the way, Alex, has got to keep you very busy because there's plenty of it.
I just want you to pray for the person who has to listen to Elizabeth Warren all day.
Oh, boy. Can you possibly imagine? And, I'm getting ready to talk about her in the next segment after you and I are done, because never mind. There's way too much.
You can't even go down that road.
From this Morning Consult poll, Alex, it tells us that the Democrats that are up for re-election in the Senate, in the states where President Trump won by double digits, are at the top of the list of those that are shown to be the least popular senators. When you look at Missouri, Florida, New Jersey, is this going to make a difference in this midterm?
I think it really will. We always knew that the Democrats were vulnerable on the Senate side because, as you mentioned, they have 10 of their incumbents running in states the president won in 2016. 5 of those states he won by double digits. So if you're Joe Manchin, if you're Heidi Heitkamp, you have to be looking over your shoulder constantly and seeing this president come right up behind you. I think for the senators, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag, particularly when it comes to judicial nominations. But, they've pretty resoundingly stood against the president on most items. And I think that if you're someone like Heidi Heitkamp, if you're someone like Claire McCaskill, you're going to have a really hard time explaining to your constituents why you stood against the president on health care, why you stood against him on tax cuts, and why you stood against him on Judge Kavanaugh. So, or Justice Kavanaugh now. And I think that the same is true for your senator there, Joe Donnelly in Indiana.
Well, and with Joe Donnelly, and I will tell you, tell me if I'm misreading the tea leaves here. Joe Donnelly, and he's been touting it on his ads, hey, I voted with the president on his first judicial nominee, Justice Gorsuch. Okay, he fails to say how it is that he came out, of course, with Kavanaugh. He went with Gorsuch back when it was pretty apparent that Gorsuch was going to have the number. Well, when Senator Collins made her speech on the floor, which was, I'm still amazed, A, that speech was given, and second, that it was given by Susan Collins. But when I saw that, yeah, and then Manchin came out, almost before she stepped away from the microphone and said he, too, was voting for Kavanaugh. Well, that gave Joe Donnelly cover, and yet he still stuck with his no vote. Am I reading it wrong that Joe Donnelly was caught in a vice because he was going to have trouble even holding his base together if he voted for Kavanaugh?
So I think he kind of goofed originally because that timeline was so it was such a pressure cooker, right, up until the end with Kavanaugh. We didn't know who was going to vote for what. We didn't know if we were going to lose some Republicans. And so in that mix, Joe Donnelly came out shortly after Heidi Heitkamp and said that he was going to vote, or I might be getting that confused, but Joe Donnelly came out before, I should say, the FBI investigation was suggested by Senator Flake and Senator Coons, and said that he wasn't going to vote for Judge Kavanaugh. And that kind of put him in some lonely territory because a lot of his other red state Dems hadn't really joined him and going quite that far yet. So that gave someone like Joe Manchin the ability to come in at the end and read where the wind was blowing and say, okay, I'll vote for Judge Kavanaugh because it looks like he's going to get confirmed. For someone like Joe Donnelly, I think that he sort of came out too early and then was sort of stuck out there. And so I think it was sort of an unforced error on his part. Yeah,
and it might be one of the things that will, in fact, end up costing him, I think, here in the election. My personal view is I think that Mike Braun, the Republican, is a very good person, a great businessman. I really think in these last 2 weeks, I think Braun needs to be a little more vociferous in his campaigning and remind everybody why it is he was able to beat 2 sitting Republican congressmen for the chance to run against Donnelly. I think he would be the better senator. but he needs to get a little louder, letting everybody know exactly who he is. We had a special guest on last week, Alex, who was a political pundit. His take is, yeah, the Republicans are going to lose some House seats, but they're going to keep that majority. And he thinks, and this is a guy who told me that Trump would win a year before Trump won, okay? He's never missed on this program. He told me he thinks we wake up on November the 7th with 57 Republican senators. You think that's a pretty big shot?
Look, I think that Dianne Feinstein, she is squarely responsible for costing her colleagues the Senate and helping us pick up some ground even if that's what ends up happening. She fumbled the Judge Kavanaugh hearing so
horribly,
so much, that she ended up, I think, putting all of these red state Democrats in very perilous conditions. But as you mentioned, the danger with getting what we want a month out from the election is that it could take all of those midterm voters who were really fired up about Judge Kavanaugh, fired up about the fact that all of a sudden in America we're going to start declaring people guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
We're just going to totally upend this American judicial principle. And we're with all those people who were up in arms, rightfully so, are going to say, oh, well, he's on the Supreme Court now and the economy is doing pretty well, so I can go and sit home on Election Day.
Yeah.
That's what, it's going to be the duty of candidates like Mike Braun and our other great Republican candidates running out in the states. We got to keep that momentum up. We got to keep people excited, and we got to keep people mindful of the fact that the Kavanaugh hearings were just a window into what will happen if Democrats take majorities in either the House or Senate or both.
No, you're exactly right.
Nonstop obstruction, nonstop talk of impeachment, both of President Trump and Justice Kavanaugh. I think they're really going to get out of hand.
Yeah, no, I think you're exactly right. In one degree, it's almost a shame that the midterms weren't the week after the Kavanaugh swearing in, because it was still so fresh and so new. If Republicans go out and they keep trying to remind people of the Democrats and the stands they took and what happened with Kavanaugh and guilty until proven innocent, will that replay, do you think, or is that overplaying the hand?
I think it's certainly worth the reminder, but I think it makes a larger point, which is that, these Democrats can't be trusted in power because they have gone a bridge too far. When we start overturning basic presumptions of innocence in our judicial system, both for the president and for Judge Kavanaugh, when we start convicting people without evidence, when
right.
Emotion is more important than facts. These things really do matter to Americans. I think that they don't want to see that part of our culture, something that makes us unique from the rest of the world in terms of our legal system. We don't want to see that go away here. And so I think it's important that Republicans don't just sort of rehash the Kavanaugh hearings, although it's an important reminder and people should still feel angry about that because there was a lot to feel angry over.
Yeah, I
think that the larger point needs to be made
that
this is the kind of regime we could expect under Democrats.
No, you're exactly right. No, you are exactly right. And to be un-American and to totally mistreat a good man is horrible.
Oh, it was disgusting what they did to him.
Yep.
And honestly, it was terrible the way that they treated Dr. Ford. This was a woman who had requested confidentiality.
Correct.
And Dianne Feinstein violated that confidentiality. She set her up with partisan lawyers who didn't have her best interests at heart. And I feel terrible for her and her family.
Yeah, she was misused.
This entire spectacle.
She was absolutely misused. Alex, we're up against the news. I'm really sorry. Got to run. But listen, thank you very much for your insight. I might give you a call just after the midterms, and we'll see how we did. But for your time today, Alex Wilkes from AmericaRisingPAC.org. Alex, thanks so very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.